Over the course of his 40-year career, photographer Steve McCurry has traveled the world, documenting our shared humanity. One of his most famous photographs is from 1984, an iconic image that is recognizable to this day. We visited McCurry at his studio to talk about the highlights of his career, including his latest book, a collection of images about devotion in all its forms.
This is a record of my photographic life. I print pretty much everything I think is interesting, that's important.
You may not know his name, but chances are you've caught his eye.
Do you talk to your subjects?
If I have a translator, I do. If I don't, the best I can do is just sort of sign language and some sort of expression to try and see if they're agreeable.
Scenes captured through Steve McCurry's lens.
It's not about color. It's not about the light, it's about humanity.
Penetrating, nostalgic, haunting. Images that leave an impression.
Ah, there she is.
His most famous?
She looks defiant.
Yeah, she does, yeah.
This picture of an Afghan refugee, which made the cover of National Geographic nearly 40 years ago.
I immediately saw this one girl with these incredible eyes off in the corner, and I thought, if I make no other pictures today, that's the one I want to make.
He's made his fair share.
How many pictures have you taken over your career, would you say?
I would say more than 1 million.
Taken in more than 120 countries across 7 continents over his 50-year career.
Kashmir, Philippines, Lebanon, Turkey, Morocco.
This is half of my slide archive.
So many, they take up rows of cabinets and shelves in the rooms of his office warehouse.
We got Moscow and Madrid, Romania, Tower Records. Remember Tower Records?
Oh, yes.
He's filled the pages of devotion with his latest.
I've always been fascinated with people who are devoted to a cause or something greater than themselves. It could be a faith. It could be some kind of a spiritual practice.
McCurry's devotion came through his love of travel.
I wanted to go all over the world, see different cultures. And as I was in the middle of that, I realized I need to get an education. I need to find something to do with my life.
He studied film at Penn State until an assignment with the campus newspaper changed his trajectory.
How did you get your first break?
My first assignment was for a magazine called Philadelphia.
A dead-end job he quit after 2 years when he bought a one-way ticket to India and never looked back.
And I was just practicing, looking, observing, honing my eye, honing my skills.
He traveled through South Asia, including Pakistan, and then just before the Soviet invasion, he smuggled himself into Afghanistan.
And that was really pivotal for me because those pictures of the early days of the uprising in Afghanistan turned out to be, once the Russians invaded, my pictures ended up being published worldwide. So suddenly I went from this sort of freelance photographer with no assignments to getting published in the best magazines and newspapers in the world.
McCurry has an uncanny knack for being in the right place at the right time.
Oh man, his eyes. They stare clear through you.
A coal miner's break.
He had been underground in the mines for the entire day, maybe 10 hours. And as we were shooting him, he was smoking this cigarette, and I thought, how ironic, this guy's underground, the air quality must be terrible, and yet he's lighting up a cigarette.
Movement in a monastery.
How did you shoot it?
I think I shot maybe a half a dozen frames, and I knew the shutter speed had to be at least somewhere between 500th and 1,000th of a second.
And playtime in a refugee camp with a curious Afghan girl.
I didn't know that I had any kind of a picture at all until I went back 6 weeks later looking through the film. And it was one of those kind of once-in-a-lifetime where everything just kind of drops in your lap and you get this amazing picture.
Permission, he says, for every portrait is paramount, but he didn't get her name. And yet somehow, Sharbat Gula was found 17 years later, thanks to his sister, who helped her immigrate to Italy.
Did she recognize you? Did she know you? Did she remember?
I think she remembered only because it was such a strange experience. This foreigner there with a camera, she'd never been photographed, so this was like a new experience for her.
McCurry experiences the ups and downs of life through the eyes of his subjects. His viewfinder is both a gateway to the beauty and a shield against the horrors he's witnessed.
Oh, wow. Where is this?
This is in Kuwait.
Most of his work captured on the fly.
The beauty of that is just capturing life as it unfolds, capturing moments, how people relate to each other. That's my favorite kind of way to work, is just walking around and photographing life as it actually is.
It nearly cost him his life.
How many times have you defied death?
Too many. I kind of feel like I've run out of lives now. I have one.
For starters, McCurry almost drowned in India.
There's a plane crash in Yugoslavia. There was multiple times in Afghanistan.
And he was on his downtown rooftop in New York City when the towers fell on September 11th, 2001. A 2021 documentary, McCurry, The Pursuit of Color, ponders his life's mission.
This became a kind of quest for enlightenment, to experience all the tones the world had to offer. I think I see in people, there's a lot of suffering, a lot of pain in the world. I think we've all experienced that in our own lives. I want to get down to the depths of their humanity. I think that's what I really am striving for.
Connection.
Connection, showing that regardless of how rich or poor they are, they have this humanity. Everybody has a story. I want to tell their story.
The stories he's told. Kudos to producer Vidya Singh for bringing this to me. This was a full circle moment because my dad would always have Nat Geo.
Right.
And I remember that cover like it was yesterday, and such a pleasure to meet him.
It's nice to hear his story from a man who has shared so many through his photographs.
Yeah.